Hey guys, Political Junkie 2414 here, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be basically giving my thoughts and analyzing the this week's special election in New York's 3rd Congressional District, which used to be George Santos's seat before he was expelled from Congress last December. And so this is an early indicator in many senses of the word of what of what party we can expect to be ahead in the House elections in 2024 to kind of get a read on the overall national environment. And it's a Democratic leaning district, but it is on Long Island, which is a very right trending area. It's going to be a very interesting election to watch on Tuesday night to see if Democrats are able to flip Santos's seat. Um, After a congressman was expelled, base over his criminal acts and his um, and falsifying his background, which really hurt his standing with voters in the district. But now Republicans have been able to get rid of him. He is not the GOP candidate this time around. And you have Democrats coming in here with the opportunity, spending a lot more money than the GOP on ads or ad buys. The gap has started to narrow, but we've seen Democrats be able to recruit the former congressman before Santos, Tom Suozzi, who retired in 2022 to run against Kathy Hochul for governor. That didn't turn out too well. And before Santos got expelled, he did announce, I think it was last October, that he announced or that he was going to be running again in 2024. But that was before, and then once Santos got expelled, he filed for this race as well. And so this is a very competitive election. This district voted for Joe Biden by 8 points in 2020. The old district that Swazi used to represent before he retired um, was like Biden plus 10, so it's not that different. Generally, a blue leaning seat. But in 2022, we saw Republicans have a phenomenal governor or phenomenal performance in New York, just statewide and in federal elections. We saw Lee Zeldin, the GOP nominee for governor, come within 7 points of beating Governor Kathy Hochul. And really, I think he helped Republican candidates all around um, win competitive seats. And even in Chuck Schumer's Senate race, it was within 15 points. And Schumer is known for basically blowing other candidates out of the water. George Santos kind of uh, rode that red wave to victory in 2022. This was before anyone knew about his scandals, about him lying about his past. And, Swazi gave up the seat. The Democrats didn't really spend a lot of money here. And, well, they kind of presumed this seat was safe. A lot of these Long Island seats, Democrats didn't really think were that much were very much in danger until maybe a month out from the election, because that's when Zeldin started to surge in the polls. Yeah, so Santos would have definitely lost re-election had he still been in Congress and not been expelled, but he was, so he is not a problem for the GOP anymore. But his shadow still lingers around the district. So I'm going to be talking about the two candidates, Tom Swazi and Mazim Maleza Pidlip. I'm not exactly sure how you say her name. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. But I'm going to talk about each of them, kind of talk about the overall background of the district and kind of the benefits I see for both candidates going into Election Day. So with Swazi, as I've said already, he's the former congressman from this district. He represented it for 6 years before he quit to run for governor. But when that didn't turn out, I guess he started thinking, I'll come back, run again. And so he was pretty much the presumptive Democratic nominee. Um, and there wasn't a lot of drama there. Republicans had a lot more candidates to choose from. They chose Mazie Maleza Pilot, who is an interesting candidate. She has a very diverse background. She was uh, born in Ethiopia. She's an Ethiopian Jew who served in the Israeli military and has served as a Republican in the Nassau County legislature as a Republican. So she, with a lot of situations going on right now, is particularly the Israel-Hamas war. I think that she really brings a lot to the table and is very appealing for independents and just voters all around who are pro-Israel and want to push back against um, threats to Israel and America in the Middle East. So I think that is a really good, that's a very big plus for Republicans here. She overall, I think that she also benefits from the fact of being a non-white male candidate. A lot of GOP House candidates who have not been white men in recent years, especially in 2020, really did historically well. And I think that by running such a diverse candidate, that really it really works for Republicans. Santos kind of claimed to be that. He was when he was running in 2022, he was kind of he framed himself as he's the gay Jewish Republican. Now, of course, he didn't turn out to be Jewish, but I mean, I don't think I need to tell you much about that. Either way, she comes across as genuine unless she is lying, just like Santos was. And I mean, if they don't catch that before election day, I mean, that would be pretty embarrassing after we literally have this special election after after the elected congressman was found out to be a liar. But either way, I think that her status and her strong background really contributes a lot, or gives the GOP a very good chance here. The trends on Long Island have also just been very good for them. They won all four House seats in Long Island in 2022, which is something they hadn't done, and I can't even remember how long, or I can't think of when. But yeah, they won Lee Zeldin's seat. Nick Lota won that. Andrew Garbarino won re-election, and you also saw a Biden plus 14 seat go to a Republican, Anthony Despacito. Um, a lot of Santos's Republican colleagues in New York were also very much eager to get him out of office. But yeah, as you can see here, just all these competitive districts, they almost had Pat Ryan, who ran a very strong campaign in August 2022 and won a huge upset. They made him have a very close race. So overall, and they also beat out the Mike Lawler one against Sean Patrick Maloney, who was the chair of the DCCC, House Democrats campaign arm. So overall, New York was very good for Republicans in 2022. Some of it, I think, was trends. Some of it was Zeldin. But let's talk about the district in general. Let me organize my thoughts. This is one of the most wealthy, educated districts in the country. It ranks 16th, or the third district ranks 16th out of all of them in median earnings, and is very college educated. And unlike a lot of other districts with these demographics, it is held by a Republican. I think one of the only exceptions, or one of the only other wealthy districts where Republicans currently have an incumbent is Tom Keene's district in New Jersey. But either way, you would think most of these white college educated suburbs would be voting Democratic, but in Long Island, it seems like Republicans have really been able to win on messaging about crime and immigration. And if you've been paying attention to what Congress has been trying Congress failing to pass the border legislation that was put forth by a bipartisan group of senators this past week. I think that really makes this what am I trying to say? The voters in this district really care about the border crisis because New York City, it includes a part of New York City, well also and also the suburbs of Long Island, and that's an area where a lot of the migrant crisis really is is really important to voters because they have in New York and the whole New York metropolitan area they have a lot of migrants coming in and or being transported there from border states and there's just not enough room for them. There's not enough shelter, and it's become a losing issue for Democrats. Republicans have been able to win on messaging with immigration. However, after Senate Republicans rejected the bipartisan border negotiations, I think that could really help Swazi because it makes it. I think it weakens Republicans' arguments that Democrats don't want to do anything about the border when they actually tank a proposal to one of the most conservative proposals in recent U.S. history to restrict border people crossing across the border. And I know that I sound really biased in favor of Democrats here, but and while I am, more liberal leaning, I try to be as unbiased as I can. And I really do think that the whole situation with the Santos drama, with Tom Suozzi's record of outperforming other Democratic candidates on the same ballot, for example, in his old district, which was Biden plus 10, right? Suozzi won by like 12 points, I think. Yeah. And guess who that was against? It was against George Santos. So Biden wins this old district by 10, Swazi wins by 12 and a half. And in 2018, I think Andrew Cuomo won, Cuomo, when he was running for reelection for governor, he won Swazi's district by like 15. So Swazi did a couple points better than both Cuomo and Biden. So he's proven that he's an above average Democrat. He's got a lot going for him when it comes to Democratic performances in special elections after the Dobbs decision. I know that that was almost 2 years now, but the abortion issue is not going away, and I don't. There are going to be a lot of abortion ballots um, uh, that citizens are going to vote on in 2024. I don't think New York is one of those states, but either way, abortion, immigration, all major top issues. I think that Republicans' recent rejection of the bill really puts them in a bad position because it makes them look like hypocrites. It makes them look like they don't want to do anything about the border. Whether you agree with that sentiment or not, that's how the voters are going to perceive it. And in a district that already leans Democratic and has a former Democratic congressman running who has outraised his Republican opponent and has spent a lot more money on advertising and is leading in most of the polls, which have recently been underestimating Democrats, believe it or not. Um, I think that that all goes to show or goes to say that Tom Suozzi is likely to return for a second stint as the representative for the third congressional district. I'm not saying Mazie Pilip, or I don't know if it's Pilip or it's probably Pilip. I'm not sure. I think it probably would be because there'd be a double L, so it's probably Pilip, or Pilip, whichever one. Not whichever one. Just I'm rambling I'm tripping all over my words. I'm not saying that the Republican can't win here. I think that history tells us that Long Island is trending right, but I don't think Republicans can reasonably expect to do as well in New York as they did in 2022. I think that they can expect some improvements, but I think in a presidential election year, that's really going to make ticket splitting a lot harder. Now, again, it wasn't the overall Republicans did pretty well in 2022, so I guess that might not be the fairest argument, but just a greater Democratic performance. Joe Biden likely winning the state by more than 6 points at the top of the ticket. It might be smaller than 2020, but it won't be a single digit margin. I think all of that goes to help Democrats in these congressional races, and also in a special election where there are where more college educated or more educated voters are coming out to vote rather than the larger group of people that come out on election day. I think that benefits Swazi. And when it comes to turnout, also, I want to also mention there is a potential for a snowstorm to hit Long Island on Tuesday, which could make it harder for Pilot to get good GOP turnout on election day because a lot of Democrats seem to embrace the early voting system more than Republicans. I think some of that is tied to Trump's narrative that the election was stolen, the 2020 election was stolen, and so that has made a lot of his voters um, lose faith in the early voting process. Unfortunately, as someone who advocates for early voting, I really think that, or as someone who supports early voting, I think that really it's kind of common sense. But overall, I'm not here to inject my opinions into it. Um, this whole Republicans in general just seem to use mail-in ballots and early voting less than Democrats. And so that's why usually when you look at early voting data, you automatically want to assume Democrats are doing better, or the advantage for Democrats is going to be higher than the final margin will be. So overall, Pilip's run a decent campaign. She has a decent back. She has an appealing background to the independent sort of voter, independent suburban or wealthy suburbanite that is typical of Long Island voters. But overall, Swazi has spent a lot more money on TV ads. He's the former incumbent. He has higher name recognition, and the shadow of George Santos in this race really is going to hurt Republicans. I think also just the fact that it's a Biden +8 district, really, and the fact that Swazi seems to be leading here in most of these polls. And again, the polls since 2022 have been underestimating Democrats more often than not. I think overall that goes to say that we're likely in for Democrats to flip another House seat, and this would mean that that we're going to find out on Tuesday. The winner of this special election is likely also going to be the winner of this November election. So if Swazi wins, he'll likely win a full term in 2024 because again, this is a special election. It's only for the remainder of Santos's term, which is basically till the very beginning of next year. But if Pilip wins, that could make things more complicated for Democrats because flipping this seat means they only have to pick up four more to win the majority in November. But if they lose, that would not only make Democrats kind of panic about their House prospects, but it would energize Republicans and um, maybe affect the redistricting process for Democrats because they're looking to redraw the state maps to be more beneficial towards them. And Long Island is one of those areas where they're kind of counting on the results of this special election to kind of dictate how exactly they're going to draw it, if they're going to try to make it to gerrymander some of the seats, pack one big Republican district in for Garbarino's seat, or are they going to maybe try to keep it not to make it not as aggressive of a gerrymander? So either way, I know that was a lot. I tried to organize all of my thoughts. Um, but yeah, I think Swazi just generally has higher name recognition. He has a history of being an above average Democratic candidate. He's got a lot going for him. Republicans really look bad in the wake of rejecting a rare opportunity to push forward bipartisan border reform bill. And um, I think overall, George Santos and his antics and his unpopularity, even though he's not in this race and has tried kind of stayed out of it, I haven't seen it being talked about a lot by Democrats, which I think is a good thing. Um, because if they overstress that example, I think that kind of creates a Terry McAuliffe situation where they get to where the voters feel like that's the only thing they're hearing. So overall, I think both parties have a very good chance of winning this special election, but I would lean more in favor of the Democrats. I think that they're um, looking to win this seat, and if so, that makes it harder for Mike Johnson to carry out his agenda as Speaker of the House because it adds another Democratic seat. Um, and I think but again, nothing's you can't be too sure about everything. So I'm cautious in my prediction here, because knowing these kinds of elections, especially on Long Island, um, it's not always what you seem. However, I think this is how I feel, and yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hopefully, this video wasn't as disorganized as my videos usually are. We kept it to a pretty good time, for my standards anyway. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my non-political channel, Interactor127, and my comrades channel Growling Zoo 666. And yeah, just I want to know, what do you guys think? Is Swazi going to flip this seat and return to Congress? Or are Republicans going to pull off an upset? Because I think the consensus is the Democrats will win this seat on Tuesday. So I'm interested to hear what you say. Remember, this is just my opinion. Um, I think this is not fact. If you think Republicans are going to win this district, that is absolutely fine, and you were not wrong necessarily. I mean, I guess we'll find out on Tuesday who's right and who's wrong. But overall, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts. So, yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things politics. See ya.